Hi, my name is Mallory.
Hi, my name is Cassie. Hi, my name is Angelica.
Hi, my name is Sky, and I'm a young change maker and ambassador at Cornerstone Engagement, and we are the
Amplify Podcast,
amplifying young black girls' voices straight from Bishop Stopford School. And today we're going to talk about secondary school mentality, what it looks like to be a black girl in education. So that's black girlhood, pressure, power, stereotypes, and dismantling tropes. So what's your name, and how would you describe who you are beyond what people see?
My name is Mallory, and I kind of think, I'm very nice and caring towards other people, and, see stuff from other sides, and, I'm still learning that, but those are my qualities.
Sorry, that's nice. I can testify that you are a nice person. So do you feel like sometimes at school, what others see about you isn't just your personality? Do you think they see your race before they see you? Do you feel like you're judged on your personality or your colour?
I feel like I'm judged on both at the same time, because there's been instances where, sometimes I'd be there and then I'd immediately get judged by other people and have like this narrow personality, or like a 180 on my whole values and stuff, and I can really like relate to that a lot. Yeah.
Thank you, Mallory. Yeah, I can definitely agree. Sometimes being a black woman in school, you're judged by your colour externally and not for what's inside of you. So thank you. So do you think society often tells young black girls who they are supposed to be?
I feel like often black girls have to figure out how it is, and they have to figure out like who they are. No one really tells them what to do. Like their parents might help them, but usually they have to find it within themselves.
Have you ever felt pressure to fit into a certain version of yourself? Cassie?
I would say yes, but it's multiple times that it happens a lot in school and outside of school as well. People have tried to put pressure onto me as in to be a certain way, to speak a certain way, and to act in the way that they want me to.
I personally have, because in my opinion, the UK is a little bit prominent on labels and all that stuff, so the pressure to fit in is kind of high.
I also think that there's a big pressure to like fit in and be yourself, because it's kind of like everyone's being very performative. They're all thinking the same way, and it's kind of like, if you don't perform, then you're seen as different, and then people start putting assumptions of you. But if you do perform, you put like a part of yourself away and you keep suppressing it, while you're catering to other people and what they want.
What parts of your identity feel misunderstood most?
I kind of feel like people kind of misunderstand me in general, especially with like my kindness. I feel like they usually hear it from other people, and then they just jump into conclusions, and I don't really have a chance. They don't really have a chance to actually get to know me.
Angelica, you have something to add?
Yeah. I feel like I'm most misunderstood on my identity and the way I carry myself. Like, I wear lashes to school because I feel like it's a big part of me, and I really enjoy doing my lashes and my nails every morning. But I feel like it makes people feel like intimidated by me, or like scared that I look rude first sight. But when they get to know me, I'm a little bit nice.
Yeah. So when do you feel, how do you feel the best you?
Honestly, probably at home, because at school I always feel like I'm doing like some sort of facade or not the real me. And as soon as I get home, I feel like a weight lifting off my shoulders, and I'm just able to do anything I want.
So what is this weight do you feel at school? I know a lot of other young people sometimes feel like this heavy burden of them at school, like not themselves, trying to be someone else to fit in. What does that weight consist of for you?
It consists of just a whole bunch of social media personalities and all the personalities of people who have brought me down, mixed up together into one, and then
Yeah, honestly, school just seems like a negative space sometimes where you can't be yourself, because like we're just trying to survive. Like, is survival something? How do you cope with that at school?
When I feel my most authentic self is when I'm with like my small band of friends, because we usually just talk about stuff in our interests without like feeling the need that we need to perform, or we need to like have the same interests as other people, and discuss and talk about like our own feelings and certain stuff. And second of all, like Angelica said, I really like home, because I don't really, for me personally, I don't really use that much social media, so it's kind of like me, myself, and my interests while I'm with my siblings. We're just talking about life, but it's very nice, because you're in spaces that don't make you perform, so you can hide like your real self away.
Thank you for that. What does belonging actually mean to you?
I have answered this question. I think belonging would actually mean to me as if you feel comfortable in the space that you're in, and like, when people don't judge you when you're there, you can say what you actually believe and think without being immediately judged or stereotyped.
And I think it should be known that, there's always like a place for you, and you're like, you have a safe space for yourself, and you don't feel like, no one wants you. I feel like it's a big thing to have like belonging in like your life and stuff, because it's a very, very huge thing.
That is such a strong message. Even though sometimes it feels like we might not belong at one place, there will always be somewhere where we do belong, which we will find. So thank you guys for that. Do you think young people today feel more connected or more isolated?
I feel like people these days feel more isolated, especially in young people, due to social media and how much of an impact it puts on the younger minds.
How important is representation when it comes to feeling seen?
I think that representation is very, very important, because I feel like when you have representation, it kind of fuels like your mind, like knowing that, you can also be this, like there's so many possibilities for you, and not just be like this one narrow-minded, or maybe, for example, a stereotype kind of like narrows down like, what you think about yourself, and, all the stuff you could actually achieve if you had like representation, like positive ones.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you saying is that representation, it kind of, it gives an insight of what you can do, inspiring you to, amount to that. What are some of the biggest myths society places on Black girls?
That Black girls are the ones that grow up quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Or especially like us being very strong for some reason, even though we're just like any other like women or like minority in the whole entire world.
Yeah. I think sometimes Black women are presented as like inhumane. They're always meant to be outwardly strong, that people just forget about the humane stuff about us, like the emotional side. Strength isn't just the main part as well. Have you ever been labelled in ways that didn't reflect who you really are?
This happened a few times to me in my old school. I was labelled as having a bad attitude, not doing what I'm being told, aggressive.
Sometimes you could do one thing and they're like, yeah, she's an aggressive Black girl. She's a strong Black girl. So it's hard to shake these like kind of views off, and it makes people want to leave school, go somewhere else, because it almost seems inescapable.
Yeah, I agree with that so much, because my experience with school, I had like this one lady, she anytime like, she would accuse me of doing something, she'd always like first come to me and then accuse and put all the like consequences on me first, instead of looking at it in like another picture. And I kind of thought it's so unfair. It's so unfair that, she doesn't even ask me. She just jumps into conclusions, which is a huge problem.
Definitely.
And especially since it carries on to other teachers, the teachers be gossiping about it.
Yeah.
And then, the teachers, like, they know you from like another lady's mouth.
Another lens,
like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, you're horrible. She's actually like a bad person. She does all of this stuff. I feel like those labels are very harmful. And I feel like, maybe people should actually get to know the child first, like more to probably why this is happening, instead of just jumping into conclusions and taking someone else's word. Yeah, I think sometimes teachers at school who perpetuate these same narratives, they don't take time to get to know the Black person for themselves. They just carry on the same view of you. And I think it's just like, it's really unfair and unjust. Like, Black girls should be able to feel safe and heard, and wherever they are, really. How do stereotypes impact confidence and your mental well-being? Cassie?
I think stereotypes impact these things by like, if you call someone aggressive, for instance, it affects their sense of self, as what if they believe you, like what if they like start thinking about themselves, like goes into this deep pit of just overthinking and believing other people's words when it's clearly not true, because you could be a nice person and someone will still say that you're aggressive.
If you're constantly stereotyped, over time it will take a toll on your mental health, and your self-worth will start depleting.
Oh, I think that it's kind of isolating too. You're just put into this group of, just, for example, rude, aggressive. It just puts you into one corner. And then, it's really like isolating to people, having been labeled as that, instead of just being more than stereotypes. Because I feel like stereotypes really like narrow you down into like just a few words, or like, the same person over and over again, when there's more to that.
Do you feel Black girls are given enough space to be vulnerable?
I don't think that Black girls, or even people in general, are given enough space to be vulnerable, as immediately after you're vulnerable in such a place as, for instance, school, like this entire thing is about, like, you'll immediately get judged or like put into one single package of thing, oh, you're a crybaby, or you can't handle yourself or your emotions, and there's so much more to that. You should be allowed to feel vulnerable in any type of place.
I don't think so. Like, especially like Cassie said, in general, like I don't think people are, put to be vulnerable, because, for example, in school, if you tell people some stuff, you don't know where it will go just because they want to, impress some people, or like, this thing about this gossip mentality where, you tell people's business on like, for instance, like the internet, or you go tell it to like a big friend group. I feel like that's a big thing, and it kind of makes people like be more reserved and like very cold and stuff.
Yeah, I also don't believe that's a safe space because society places like an identification on black girls. So they believe, oh, she's a black girl, so she can like help herself by herself. She can carry herself. She can do this. She can do that. But it's not all the time. I mean, she's just a black girl.
What do you wish people understood better about young black girls?
I wish teachers would understand that black girls are someone who can just take situations very easily, because not every black girl is strong. Not every black girl is this or obnoxious. Some of them are just vulnerable and need that caring hands instead of pointing fingers.
It's true, because strength is not the only thing that defines us, to be honest. Like, we might be strong, but there's also other stuff that's going on inside. Because I know from my own personal experiences, sometimes when I go through things at school, yes, on the exterior I might be strong, but inside there's a lot of things going on inside, like, a lot of emotions was going on inside, like feeling isolated, alone, unheard, feeling like unjust about things. So yeah,
I honestly wish that in another life, like, I had the opportunity to have a really good experience in my old school, because I had to switch schools from one school that didn't understand my needs, didn't really care about me, pointed fingers, assumptions because of my race and not because of who I am.
I had a similar experience, having to move schools, not just once actually. For me, it was moving schools twice. It's because sometimes as a black girl, it's so difficult to feel understood and to fit in at some places. Like, it's always something that kind of needs improving at these schools. Like, nothing ever feels perfect, even alongside the pupils. Like, being someone that likes academia, someone that's very focused, you're judged by your peers by some of this stuff. They're like, well, this black girl's not down with the culture, she's nerdy, she's trying to be white. And then you go to a school and then the teachers just make assumptions about you. So sometimes it's just difficult to be understood. Like, you never feel like someone understands you in the correct way.
I also wish people understood is that like black girls are still children. They're still growing up. They're not a 25 stuck in like a child's body. They're still like growing up. And I really wish, many people would still have compassion just like they have for like other kids, for also black girls too, because mainly like with all this like performative stuff, that we some people are under influence too. I feel like, it's teachers or maybe like parents like jobs to, help understand them and, support them and show them like different perspectives, a way to navigate through life instead of just like pointing fingers and then making them feel ashamed for what society kind of made them conform to because of fear.
Yeah, and even in primary school, at my most vulnerable years, in primary school, from the simplest act of putting on lip gloss, or putting on lip balm, a teacher told me, "What are you doing? You think you're grown?" And she snatched it away from me, and I had a detention for just putting lip gloss on. And I knew from seeing my other white peers doing it that I was seen differently. Like, I was seen as more mature, more advanced, maybe because of the way the body forms a bit differently too, that they have this perception of you. And it's so hard to dismantle it, even from putting on moisturizer, like from doing normal acts. The teachers just see you in this completely different light, from the way they interact with you, as if like they've got like barriers up, like hatred, and like they're actually the ones perpetrating this aggression towards you, and then they'll turn around and then they'll say it's you, and then punishment as well for things that you didn't do, and not saying, oh, maybe can you put this on after the lesson, or not speaking in like a respectful way. You're not seen as humane, someone that actually has feelings. And it's like, being this vulnerable child in primary school, that broke my confidence at that age. I didn't want to do anything that I'd be reprimanded for again in front of my classmates, bringing along stuff of embarrassment, feeling unsafe, feeling insecure in an environment where teachers are typically have the responsibility and the duty of care. You feel let down, and that ruined my experience in secondary school too, not trusting teachers and not feeling safe within school, because I always know that teachers can turn around, embarrass you. It's never feeling safe within an environment.
There's just so much to unpack in what Sky's just said there. And again, I'm a black lady, and I feel safe enough to say that it's actually really painful to hear that, that you're in a space that you're supposed to feel protected, but so early on you're hearing her say that she felt unsafe. She had an understanding that she was viewed differently, and that the same kindness and care that Mallory has spoken about, that Angelica has spoken about, that that caring hands instead of pointing fingers is quite a powerful statement in terms of, you know, that if you're in need, what I'm hearing is if you're in need, if you're hurting, if you need care, if something's going on, you know that care's not coming. That, as Mallory said, you're viewed as a 25-year-old woman in the body of a child. Like, you've spoken about adultification. Like, it's painful to hear. Yeah, and then I'm hearing Angelica say, listen, can you not listen? Can you not lean in to find out, like, why I'm presenting this way? And I know that in the group, in Amplify, we've spoken about how anger, which often is something that's taken away from us as an emotion, right, is a valid emotion, but it's always misinterpreted. And in the group, we've heard that some of you show up, anger is you're completely silent, or you withdraw, as we've heard Sky say, she'll go inwards. You know, there's so many different presentations to anger, but I'm hearing that there's no care.
That's very true. I can really understand what you're saying, especially when you summed it up, because I feel like what we kind of really need in this thing is sympathy and empathy in like this generation, and like, you know, having more adults actually step up for us instead of pointing fingers. It's a huge thing, and it kind of makes, you know, it does make you feel like, you know, you don't have anybody there for you, you don't have anybody listening to you or like advocating for you, or being like, you know, understanding how you see it, or giving you like more life lessons. It's just pointing fingers, consequences, and then more consequences because no one listens to you.
What does your voice mean to you?
I think my voice is very much like a big thing, because like there's so many people that don't really have the opportunity to speak out. For example, some people in school, you know, they wouldn't really acknowledge you unless it's behind closed doors, because they're scared. But with people, you know, that are allowed to speak out, I feel like there's some consequences to it, because people will put you down for it. There's going to be people saying, you know, you're horrible for this, you're horrible for that, you know, for speaking out instead of being quiet about stuff. But I feel like my voice is a big thing, because, you know, there's other people in the world. There's so many Black girls, there's so many other women out there, you know, who didn't really have the opportunity. But maybe by like hearing my voice, they could relate to it, and, you know, feel like there's hope there, instead of just, you know, everything's quiet. Some stuff is not really going to be said. That it's always going to be said, and I feel like it should be brought out, because some stuff needs awareness.
So what I'm really hearing you say, Mallory, which is powerful, is that you use your voice to try and make a difference for others, but also for yourself, to empower others.
I think this is a really good example of what it looks like to use your voice and like what it means, because now so many other people will be aware of things that they may not have been aware of, you know. So I think that's important, having a voice to communicate how you feel about things. Sometimes being ignored as a Black woman is, you know, a very prominent feeling. So this would just bring awareness to the cause, you know, because sometimes it's difficult to understand things. So what message would you leave for the next generation?
I would tell them, never ever change yourself for the validation of others, and just be you and be authentic and unique.
I think just because like the crowd doesn't does something doesn't mean you should always do it. And, you know, you shouldn't have to dim your own light so that you can be with you can have validation from people who don't even validate themselves.
Still amazing. You can be strong, you can be sensitive, you can be loving, you can be, you know, anything you want to be. Don't allow these like stereotypes to box you in.
To also add to that, I also think that, especially like specifically Black girls, I just want them to know that, you know, you're not just another aggressive person. You're not just like the same old Black girl. You're not the girl next to you being labeled her instead of your real name, because, you know, you actually like deserve more than just being treated like you're a whole nother species.
Thank you for listening. This has been the Amplify Podcast.